It's weird being like this because I feel like I should probably be more like tilted in my chair, like actually facing you guys instead. And surprise, the end of August has come, and even though we still have a few days left, right, AJ?
Like,
hey, you wanted to get started. Okay, so that's basically what's going on. Is that means it's the end of August, close enough. So because of that, that means one thing and one thing only. We're closer to all in. No, no. Halloween Horror Nights? Yeah, no, that too. But no, what we're here for is exactly the reason why you guys and girls out there are joining us, whether live or in archive right now, to find out what we think is going to run for the Big 8 categories in August here for the 2019 Academy Awards. My name is Owen. Joining me as always is Ashley.
Oh, this will be fun.
Indeed. And of course, only for award season, we have AJ.
Yeah, obviously I echo Ashley's sentiment. So,
Indeed. Welcome, Bright Guy to chat.
I purposely think that we've chosen this because then we cannot be influenced even from the preamble before TIFF.
I mean, the answer that I'll give you here is that AJ called me today and he was like, "Hey, I'm waiting for you. When are we doing this?" I'm like, "I was gonna do it next week. We still got another week of August." And then it was like we bleed into All In weekend, and that's gonna be super busy anyway. Darren's in town. I've got rehearsals, so it's kind of like, let's get this taken care of. And we found tonight. Have absolutely nothing to do today. It's 8 o'clock here on the East Coast on a Saturday night. What am I doing? I'm drinking ice cold water out of a Gatorade bottle, and we're talking the Academy Awards.
Way to make that sound flattering.
Way to make it sound what?
Flattering.
Oh, yeah, I know. Rocking my vaudevillain shirt, never forget. So we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today. If you've never joined us before on award season, this is our fun time of the year. This is when Popcast Network really decides to shine. This is when we do even more than we normally do, and that's when we're doing monthly Popcast to cover the Oscars. Now, I will say right now, with Halloween Horror Nights starting in a few weeks, literally, my first rehearsal is actually tomorrow, or today, technically, when you're watching this video, if you're watching an archive. I will state right now that this is one of the only things that is going to take precedence over everything else. So obviously, Ashley's going to be covering the wrestling side of things, the gaming side of things, and he'll be bringing the snack stashes. AJ will cover the movie reviews and the verses and assorted things. I will be very sporadic on the network for the next 2 months because I'll be super busy. Because don't forget, we're also in the midst of the fact that signed up for my second and third half marathons for next year. So yes, the day after the final night of Halloween Horror Nights, April and myself are going to be running the new Wine and Dine half marathon. So looking forward to that. But yeah, it's going to be, we're in training right now. So needless to say, I'll be running, going to the gym, and also having some fun out in the fog. But other than that, AJ and Ashley are covering the network for the next 2 months, and they're very capable hands indeed. So we appreciate everyone joining them. So, Bry Guy says it was close last year between Ashley and AJ. Yeah, I was never in the running now, was I, last year?
Hang on, quick. To the document file.
Welcome, Cassie. Welcome, Will.
There's the award predictions from last year, if I can bring them up.
Of course you still have them.
Well, yeah, because they're all on my USB drive where I stick everything. Because if it gets on the computer, it just gets buried. Yeah, overall finished 88 to AJ, 84 to me, and yeah, you had 69.
That's all that matters.
You actually won, Owen, by having that number.
Of course. As always. Never forget. Never forget. I don't have any Bill and Ted stuff close to me, or I totally would bring something out, but I'd have to get up, and I'm not getting up right now. So, if you've never joined us before, number one, welcome. We are the crazy ones that are starting this shindig in August, and we go all the way to January when we actually try to predict every single one of the categories, including the cheap plug category we talked about in the last podcast we did a couple weeks ago. And if you haven't checked that out, go ahead and check out our Oscar New Rules podcast. I like to call it the Dua Lipa podcast because they're all about new rules. So, hey, it was funny in my head, okay? It was funny last time. Yeah, that's right. We're going to call it Dead Forever. Exactly. So, let's get started. Like I said before, if you're new to us, I tried this intro like 4 times now, and I've always get sidetracked. Needless to say, basically what we do here is the top 8 categories are going to be covered all the way up until the end when we try to predict everything. And we're going to see how our predictions changed throughout the months. Now, one thing I'll let you guys know right off the bat, Ashley's really good at screenplay. Really weird, wild stuff that comes out of nowhere that ends up running. And I just take literal stabs in the dark in more ways than one. And AJ, basically, he's the one that he's on top of everything, like right on top of that road every single time. So needless to say, I had to make that reference, AJ. You knew I did.
You say that, but at the same time, it is worth noting, I was significantly better at this before we were recording it. I just want that to be clear.
Oh, of course. See, that's the thing now. It's another thing we're doing with award season this year. We started last year is the fact that we're all on camera. So needless to say, if I'm getting text messages again, then needless to say, I will be seen getting text messages. And yeah, that's for you, Will. You get to say it real quick. There's my text message. Yeah. Let's be excellent to each other. So yes. Probably can barely see it because I have the worst camera in the history of ever. But you guys probably know that from last time. So I'm going to be looking to the right because obviously my TV monitor is my computer monitor, as you guys know. And I have the curtains behind me. And you're going to start hearing the thunder claps and everything because it's going to storm outside. It's already started. And soon you'll be hearing a cinematic celebration in about an hour or so. Needless to say, we're still going then. You'll be hearing the pyro booms. So yeah. Let's talk about the first thing we always do at the beginning of this race every single year, and that is, AJ, what's the state of the race currently?
Well, I wasn't really going to start with that because I don't really have as much of a clue as I usually do.
Interesting.
I was going to mention a couple of things that people seem to have in the running that I don't really have much faith in, just to make that clear before we start.
Sounds good.
And people can combat this or whatever, but looking at it, there seems to only really be a couple that I don't have for anything that I keep seeing quite a bit, and that is Steve McQueen's Widows and Jason Reitman's The Frontrunner. Because I've been burned by Jason Reitman too many times at this point. It's almost like his whole Oscar star has passed ever since Up in the Air. Ever since he lost to Jeffrey Fletcher, it's like it's just been downhill for him ever since. I've heard some stuff thrown around about Widows, like Viola Davis in particular, and I guess Dana Kaluuya is getting really built up for it too, like as a possibility of like for God's sake, what's the word? When they're nominated right after they just were an Afterglow nomination, I think that's what it's called.
Something like that, yeah.
And obviously I avoid advertising, so I don't have a clear idea, but from the little tiny bit that I know and have seen about Widows, you know what it actually kind of looks like?
What's that?
More stylish, of course, from a director like Steve McQueen, but and a magnificent cast. But does anybody remember Takers with Matt Dillon and Idris Elba and Hayden Christensen and Paul Walker? It kind of looks like women. So I don't really have a whole lot of faith in it.
That's not a good comparison.
Keep in mind that the actual book that this is based on is written by Linda LaPlante, who did all the Prime Suspect stuff. So it's from an author that knows how to write. It's been adapted by Gillian Flynn of Gongo. It even starts to the original book, and like the big names are involved, which is pretty ridiculous.
Doing something this year, I just kept forgetting what it was.
And then the actress that's in this, and also what is it, Bad Times at the El Royale?
Oh yeah,
that seems to be getting a lot of interest because it's sort of like what was her name from Lady Bird? and Roseanne.
Laurie Metcalf?
Yeah, it's that. She's more of a theater person than a television or a movie person, but now she's making the switch, and everybody's like, we need more of you. So,
what happened with Mark Rylance too?
Technically, would she count for best newcomer when they do the BAFTA thing? Because if she hasn't really been in stuff before, is she too old? It's like.
But then also, when you look at the Gillian Flynn defense, let's not forget what Gone Girl ended up doing. When a lot of people had it for like adapted and picture and all that stuff, some people were throwing in Fincher. It got like a bunch of Globe nominations, and then Rosamund Pike ended up being the only nomination for it, a little unexpectedly. Just that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
depends how it's received. In all honesty, when I think it's at TIFF. If not, I'm pretty sure it's going to be at the London Film Festival.
There's one that I didn't completely push out, but I'm throwing a lot of question marks at it, especially since so many people seem to be like all over it. And that's Roma, which to my understanding is a black and white Netflix movie by Alfonso Cuarón. I do think it helped. Obviously, it's got the Netflix thing going against it, actually. But we also saw that, like Icarus won last year, so maybe they're lightening up on it a little bit. At the same time, when this would be something that's just dismissed immediately, I think the fact that it has more of a chance than a movie like this normally would, because of the fact that an already established director with a movie that has a lot of wins to its name already on his resume is going to help a lot. But I don't. Whenever I bring it up, it's not with the most confidence yet. So there's that.
The thing is, I think we're seriously getting to the point now that we may not want to count Netflix out just yet. I think we're getting to a point now with the way things are going, with the way the world has been going lately, that you may live to see a Netflix movie in our lifetimes win a Best Picture award. I mean, there's got to be something strong enough that we don't know about just yet that is going to be a juggernaut at the Academy Awards down the line. Maybe not anytime soon, but I think within the next 10 or 15 years, you could see a Netflix movie winning Best Picture.
It sort of feels like
my only issue with that is I've only seen one Netflix movie ever. And that was Annihilation, because they actually bothered to show it in cinemas. Mm-hmm. I don't really, I feel I'm more of a traditionalist in that the big screen is sort of where it should be seen.
Right.
In all honesty. That's why I think Amazon's approach to actually doing a cinema release and then a digital release, sometimes a few days after, even for like some of the Arrow film or the Artificial Eye, like the foreign stuff, was it Apostasy? It's got a lot of acclaim over here. That was in cinemas and available on digital same time. So at least it gives you the option that if you do want to watch it on a small device or at home, you can.
Right.
But then if you want to see it as intended, but that's what I always think Netflix fails to do. They release it into like 3 or 4 screens just so it's eligible for the awards, both either in the UK and in the US. But they don't bother if you have something that's going to be sort of a big, huge success. Let's say the upcoming Maniac, is it? With Emma Stone and Jonah Hill. If that becomes like a cult following, it's only going to have a cult following on Netflix.
Isn't that a miniseries?
I don't even know.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I don't even know, because the trailers just say, "Oh, here's this thing." They don't bother saying miniseries. They just say, "Oh, it's up." It's up in 2 weeks and whatever.
Welcome, Mr. Top Hat, to chat. Cassie does have a point brought up. I said I completely agree that a Netflix movie or Amazon Prime movie may win Best Picture one day. And her example is Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah. I mean, technically, Amazon did some funding behind Paddington too. Even the one I just saw, Idris Elba's Yardy, is technically an Amazon film. I mean, Legend was Amazon. The Cray one with Tom Hardy. There's quite a lot that it's like, it might not be direct sort of Amazon, like an Amazon original, like their TV stuff is, or I guess the last one that I saw properly, even though it had a botched version that I saw at least, was Last Flag Flying, which was, I guess that was mainly an Amazon film rather than a side one, but
it got so screwed by its distribution because it could have gone up.
I want to mention the state of the race for 2020. Considering the news that we got today, that I wasn't even aware of, that Greta Gerwig's doing an adaptation of Little Women where Emma Watson just replaced Emma Stone. And of course, the internet is saying, "Oh, it's like La La Land but in reverse."
Oh, speaking of La La Land, something I forgot to bring up.
It's my response to you. So you'll get that Oscar one way or another, Ashley.
No, but the fact as well that Meryl Streep's in it, it's like, well, lock it in. Saoirse Ronan's in it, lock it in. Laura Dern's rumored, lock it in. Florence Pugh's in it, lock it in. It's like lock. Timothy Chalamet's in it, lock it in.
Well, it makes sense since it'll be immediately following up on A Star Is Born remake, which is probably the second most remade movie behind Little Women. That's obviously an exaggeration, but you get the point.
At the rate we're going, Scarface.
The thing I forgot
sequel never's gonna happen.
That La La Land's kind of a segue to is another one that I'm just looking now and I forgot just how much I took it out. But if Beale Street Could Talk, the Barry Jenkins movie,
ooh,
I had heard some people say that it's like, number one, it just in general doesn't feel like a contender. But then I've also heard that it almost looks like it might be a little too close to Moonlight. Like apparently they look very similar or something. But a third one kind of crossed my mind. Not that I'm like going with this or anything, but it's just another theory or whatever. Do you think there's going to be like maybe a certain number of Academy members that were massive La La Land fans that might have a grudge against Barry Jenkins right now? Would that be too much of a conspiracy theory?
Not necessarily.
Just throwing that out there too. So, because I thought I had it in adapted, but it turns out I don't apparently. So,
yeah. So
I do have it somewhere, but not there apparently.
We'll confirm Maniac is a miniseries. And Mr. Top Hat says, the favorite or Mary Queen of Scots? We'll get to those in a bit.
Normally, I would use the movies will cancel themselves out theory.
It doesn't work very often.
I think The Wolf of Wall Street and American Hustle eliminated that option forever. So it's totally possible that there isn't a whole canceling out thing that can happen.
So let's get into this, shall we, gentlemen?
Might as well.
We start with screenplays, go all the way up to Best Picture, and are we doing the magic number is 9 this year? Again?
As much of a pain in the ass as it is, yes.
Okay, good. That's what I've got, so we're good. I am usually right on top of that every single time. Like, sometimes I take a while to get everything I want. Like, the crucial categories, I make sure that I have everything that I want predicted. But this year is tough. Obviously, we know about the death of MoviePass and the fact that AMC A-List would have been a great idea, but my local cinema just switched to Cinemark as of September 15th. So, and their MoviePass sucks. because it's literally $15 for 3 movies a month. I need 3 movies a week, not 3 movies a month. It's award season. So, needless to say, I haven't really watched much. I mean, the last movies I watched Hotel Transylvania 3, and I watched the Jason Mraz Have It All documentary style movie based on the. Other than that, I mean, I haven't watched anything. There's so many things I want to watch. Like 8th grade's one thing I really wanted to see, but it passed me by because it never came here. It went to it went to Disney. It didn't get to Universal. So, like, nope, not gonna happen apparently, unless it gets nominated for things down the line. I guess we'll see what happens. So let's get to it. We're going to start with best. We're going to original.
Adapted.
Okay, I have mine backwards then.
You make that mistake every year, every audience.
I do, of course. I'm going to change it
You always go with the non-original first.
Okay. So let's go with best adapted screenplay.
Well, I'm going to start this off the way I always start it off, but just to be clear, some of these may not seem totally right now, but obviously I'm going to say them all and then explain myself. So if something seems a bit too, why the fuck would you say that? I will tell you if you listen.
Of course.
So for adapted, I have Beautiful Boy, Black Klansman, Crazy Rich Asians, Don't Worry He Won't Get Far on Foot, and A Star Is Born. Obviously, I just recalled just now in front of you that I don't have a Beale Street to talk in here. It probably should be in Don't Worry He Won't Get Far on Foot. But, for some reason, I don't know why that movie's sticking out to me. I actually mentioned this in the last video. For some reason, it just is in a couple of places. But I could also see me having it could be completely off the radar by the next time we do this. So there's that. And Crazy Rich Asians, obviously, is another thing that still has plenty of time to fall off because it's a huge, huge deal right now.
Right.
So that could definitely, because the other options were like, The Front Runner, which I already said I pretty much shut out, and Boy Erased, I actually had in here before I changed my mind when Crazy Rich Asians really started getting huge. I think it's just a matter of how long it's going to maintain that momentum, because it could also, even it seems like it's going to lose momentum, it's going to get a shitload of Globe nominations probably, and probably be a really good contender for that popular thing they're doing. So it's still going to be in here, and if it's as big a deal then as it is now, if not bigger, I could see this happening. And the other thing, kind of speak for themselves, I think Beautiful Boy is just baity as hell. Star Is Born has Eric Roth behind it, who did like Forrest Gump and Benjamin Button and The Insider and Munich and Extreme Loud and Incredibly Close. Needless to say, all those movies did pretty well at award season. He also has some, every now and then he has some shit on there, and just overall, as far as A Star Is Born goes, it could seem like it could go either way. It could seem like this whole sort of vanity project that's just going to fall off, like maybe end up something like 9 or something. But at the same time, he's been off the radar for a little bit because he hasn't been doing a whole lot. But try not to forget, the Academy loves Bradley Cooper a lot. He got 4 nominations in a consecutive 3 years. And while he had shit like Burnt and Aloha here and there, the reason he hasn't been around that much except playing Rocket Raccoon is because he's been working so hard on this for so long.
Yeah, because this is like 3 years in the making.
It's a long-ass time he's been making this. So I feel like that passion's going to really come through. And Black Klansman is getting, a lot of predictions thrown its way right now. I'll tell you right now, I fear I'm being biased as hell towards it because it's like my favorite movie of the year right now. So I'm hoping it gets as much as it possibly can. And as of right now, that seems like a good bet for it. So that's what I did for it.
Okay. Before we go any further, Cassie says, last movie I saw in my theaters was Incredible to You and Mamma Mia. Here we go again. Both great movies. Bry Guy says, adapted. Beautiful Boy, Black Klansman, First Man, If Beale Street Could Talk, and Mary Queen of Scots. Mr. Top Hat says, Beautiful Boy, Can You Ever Forgive Me? The Favorite, First Man, If Beale Street Could Talk. Ashley, what's yours?
Somewhat similar to like everything that we heard. But then there's the swerve, which I've put in purposefully because I am calling that AJ's going to do a versus of this in 10 years.
I live in fear.
So we got Beautiful Boy, Black Klansman, First Man, and Widows, and then replacing Boy Erased, The Miseducation of Cameron Post. Because if you don't know the themes of Boy Erased and Miseducation of Cameron Post, it's all about gay conversion therapy places. And
I wasn't sure what Misdirection of Cameron Post was until now.
Yeah, well, it's what's her name, Chloe Grace Moretz.
Yeah,
so it's a lesbian angle rather than a gay angle. I'm intrigued because after seeing how it was dealt with, because I saw a preview. I think it's technically coming out like next week over here, but they did a special preview screening near me. It's a very sort of interesting 90-minute drama with, I mean, some shock value, but there's also some comedy bits that had quite a lot of people laughing. Very similar in vein to sort of Black Klansman, I guess. There were sort of elements in that you were sort of like in shock, and then other elements that you were sort of laughing at and everything.
Wasn't it also the big? It was.
Go ahead, DJ.
Wasn't it?
First Man I've got in here because I just want to give Nicole Perlman credit, because she's like the one that everybody forgets that was involved in the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, James Gunn, because of everything that happened, it's like that's taken the attention away that no, she also co-wrote it. She didn't do the second one. Don't know what happened there, but whatever. So the fact that she's on board for something as significant as like a Neil Armstrong sort of Apollo 11 biopic should be interesting. And, the main reason Black Klansman's in there is within, what was it, first 3 minutes? The guy from The Wire just going, she, and I was like, yes, best movie of the year. Spike Lee put it in there because he watched The Wire. Because he never gets seen again. He's just there to go, she.
Wow.
Ugh.
That's the thing. Okay.
And that's what you get to enjoy when it gets on VOD.
I can't wait to see it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I need to see it. Is it gonna be? Can I see it tomorrow?
Especially for Topher Grace.
Nope.
The best David Duke I never thought I needed.
So we've got some chat. Will says, I've been off and on about seeing Black Klansman. I'm dying to see it. I just haven't had a chance to yet. Guy says other contenders: The Death of Stalin, Annihilation, Mary Poppins Returns. I don't think Paddington 2 won't be a contender. Contender. Ooh, that's worth it. Mr. Top Hat says Black Panther might sneak in there, but it's a long shot. We'll see. Remains to be seen. My best adapted screenplay lineup is Mary Queen of Scots, First Man, Widows, A Star is Born, and Black Klansman. I really think that the only thing that I'm not confident in that list, weirdly enough, is Mary Queen of Scots.
The reason I don't have Mary Queen of Scots anywhere at all in mine is because from people that have already seen it, because I think, was it at Venice?
I believe so.
When they showed it to like people that know the history, they were like, why is Mary Queen of Scots speaking in a Scottish accent? Because she was, French. So she wouldn't have spoken with a Scottish accent. And supposedly they never did actually meet. But of course, because they're saying it's inspired by real events, they can sort of get away with the fact that, oh, this actually happened even though it didn't, sort of thing.
What is it? What is this, like Marilyn and Me?
To some extent.
Ow. To be quite honest, if I had to choose anything differently, Mary Queen of Scots will probably be replaced by If Beale Street Could Talk.
Yeah, but the thing is, there you've got to have your quota of women. And
now, my girl got screwed last year. We're
no,
good,
but
right?
the fact that Josie's obviously written and directed it in a similar vein to sort of, I think, actually, I better double check. I don't know whether Josie actually adapted it. Again, because Josie comes from a more theatre orientation, I'm not sure whether she actually did the work on adapting it this time. Double check. Mary Queen of Scots.
So yeah, that's the only difference I would make in my lineup.
Screenplay by Beau Willimon, who wrote and co-produced Ides of March. Okay, but hasn't done anything for the last 5 years. And again, the last film he wrote was directed by Jonathan Demme and had Wallace Shawn in, who apparently is all in. Oh, but he also wrote a shit ton of House of Cards. So that's why he hasn't been doing a lot of film stuff, because he's been doing a lot of Netflix stuff. That explains it.
Well, now we move to Best Original Screenplay.
Hopefully there's no category confusion with any of these. To the best of my knowledge, all of these are original. I know sometimes there's a gray area that takes some figuring out throughout the season, but I'll just say what's here. I have Ad Astra, Backseat, 8th Grade, The Favorite, and First Reformed. If I had a sixth option, it would probably be Sorry to Bother You. I know the Coen brothers have their movie coming out in like the December area, where it was going to be like a Netflix series, but then they turned it into an anthology movie. But I don't know how well an anthology movie would do awards-wise, even if it is the Coen brothers. So I guess starting with First Reformed, it is kind of shocking to look back how beloved like Paul Schrader is and how known his name is, especially for stuff like Taxi Driver. And he kind of had a resurgence here, like his name was getting thrown around a lot because of this movie. Yeah, if you look it up, Paul Schrader has never been nominated before, despite his practically legendary status in the basically being like a sort of counterpart to De Palma. But the fact that he was like not nominated for Taxi Driver is something that you kind of have to look up to believe. So I think this will be the time to do that if the movie can keep up. It's albeit small, but the little popularity it managed to get to where it's kind of under the line, but it is being talked about. Backseat, I just haven't been sure about the whole time, because Backseat could be two things. Backseat could be Adam McKay giving us another The Big Short, or Backseat could also be like W. So it's just a matter of which one of those it is. But in the meantime, I'll go ahead and stick with it. If you can give us something in the same vein as The Big Short, it'll probably be just fine. The Favorite, I jokingly mentioned to Ashley before, but it actually looks like a pretty decent bit. 8th Grade kind of speaks for itself. It's like the ultimate breakout indie movie this year that just makes it in this category usually. And then Ad Astra does seem like a bit of an odd choice because it's James Gray, who's kind of been pretty far off the radar, despite having a thing in there somewhere. But the vibe I'm getting is, number one, I either keep hearing people are going all in on it, and people aren't going all in on it, or fearing that it's going to be underestimated. So it's clear a lot of people are looking into it. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought maybe it could be something akin to Arrival and what it did. So that was pretty much enough basis for me to put it in here. So that's mine, anyway.
All right. Will brings up Unsane. Mr. Top Hat says The Favorite might actually be original, so I'll replace it with Mary Queen of Scots. Bry Guy says Backseat, 8th Grade, mid-90s. 22 July, and Welcome to Marwen.
Oh, yeah, what is that? The Zemeckis movie?
Yep.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about mid-90s, but a lot of people bring it up. That's like you could throw Jonah Hill in the Bradley Cooper camp. It's like the Academy obviously loves him, so it wouldn't be surprising at all.
Mr. Top Hat says, Backseat, The Favorite, Hereditary, Peterloo, and Sorry to Bother You.
With the James Gray one, Ad Astra, is that coming out at the end of this year?
I think right now it's set for January, which pretty much means we did this really recently with something where something was set. I think it was The Post, where it had a January release for a long time, and everybody was just saying, "Well, that probably means it's getting a qualifying run in December." Then, I mean, why would they?
It'll be in the limited amount of theaters it can be right at the end.
Yeah, so I'm basically going on the faith that will happen.
Yeah.
Bry Guy calls other contenders of Roma, Outlaw King, which is the new David Mackenzie movie. 22 July is Greengrass's new movie. The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, which of course is the Coen Brothers' new anthology film, At Eternity's Gate, and A Quiet Place.
Nice.
Ashley.
Okay. My 5 are 8th Grade, The Favorite, Peterloo, A Quiet Place, and because it's so early, fuck it, I'm putting it in here. I Love Dogs. Because it's original as fuck. Yeah. Technically, is it foreign? Because of the amount of subtitles that are on there. Who knows? Or the amount of translation and everything. But yeah, I just want to put that in there because normally things from earlier on in the year don't get that remembered, and it will probably get buried when other films come in. Same with Quiet Place, depending how much they want to sort of pin that as sort of being, oh, here's the mainstream champion one that may or may not be in the mainstream award because they didn't announce anything to do with what the fuck was that it was and everything. So I'm sticking to Mike Leigh and Peterloo because apparently it's 2.5 hours, which considering it's a Mike Leigh film, I guess is fair because I think Turner was about that same length. Also, the best thing about that, as part of the London Film Festival, it's getting its premiere in Manchester, which if you know where the Peterloo Massacre happened, it makes sense, but it's weird how it's part of the London Film Festival. Why couldn't it have been part of the Manchester Festival, which is like in or around the same time as TIFF? Huh? But, and I don't even know whether 8th Grade is even coming out over here, but I'm putting it in there because there's been a lot of buzz for Bo Burnham's script.
You're giving me horrible flashbacks to remember when I went all in on Mr. Turner, how well that went?
Yeah. Well, that was just because half the film was Timothy Small going, hey,
at least you didn't bet the farm on American Hustle like I did.
That had the problem. That had the problem with alliteration, though, didn't it, Owen? David O. Russell's American Hustle.
I know. Alliteration not for the win.
And then people realized Accidental Love happened and they went, nope.
No, God.
Accidental Love was like the kryptonite like Eddie Murphy and Norbit was to Dreamgirls.
Bry Guy says, unfortunately, I don't know about Isle of Dogs. We're not having Incredibles 2 for adapted. Mr. Top Hat says, not sure if On the Basis of Sex is adapted or original.
That's that Felicity Jones movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Armie Hammer.
Well, once again, it seems like mine's little column A, little column B, but I've got one wild card that I think that is probably more wishful thinking than anything else, but you never know. My original screenplay lineup is Backseat, The Favorite, 8th Grade, Isle of Dogs, and Bohemian Rhapsody.
I will say one thing real quick. Despite the fact that Dexter Fletcher came in and finished it off, you do know that Bryan Singer still has the director credit on it.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep. I don't know. I didn't bet anything on it. I would have probably gone for Bohemian Rhapsody in a couple places, but based pretty much on that alone, I didn't. So
How? See, what's the difference between that and what happened with Solo?
to my understanding, it's more comparable to what happened with Justice League, where Joss Whedon basically came in and just like finished it, as opposed to like doing an entire most of it. So I know that's a weird comparison, but
Well, no, because it's like, because from what I heard, Ron Howard finished Solo because like most of the stuff was 90% done, so that's why I was a bit confused.
I was thinking like I'm pretty sure. I don't know. What I caught myself. I was like, whatever I was about to say was going to be pulled out of my ass, so I'm not even going to say it.
That's one way to look at it.
But that's it. That's interesting because I always thought it was going to be a Dexter Solo film.
I was pretty sure anything that was done before Howard got there, he reshot, is what I was under the impression. But I don't know.
I'm looking at the IMDb and Singer's still being credited.
Oh God.
Yeah. So yeah, like I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe we'll see. The movie's strong enough, then maybe it'll still run on nominations.
If the performance is good enough. Also, keep in mind, it is co-written by Peter Morgan. The story. Okay, the screenplay isn't. The screenplay's by Anthony McCartan and all that, who behind Dankest Hour and Theory of Everything.
I'm more comfortable in what I chose now.
Wait, he wrote Wurzel Gummidge Down Under? What is this shit?
Mr. Top Hat says Bohemian will get Best Actor and maybe Picture, but the controversy behind the scenes will stop it from anything else. Did you just like read my mind for the most part, except for the screenplay that I just talked about a second ago?
Well, if they do any like Kids' Choice Awards and Show Dogs comes up with it, especially regarding the supposed now cut scene that sort of implied that child sex was okay or something, it was like, yeah. I'm amazed that they put that out and they never sort of caught onto the fact that people might put that together through the whole dog thing or whatever. Which was one of the best things that came out of the UK release, because it came out for like a day and then they had to completely re-edit it.
This is what I'm doing. This is an invisible rope. I'm trying to rein you in right now and roll you back in, Ashley.
This is what happens when I get distracted by Wurzel Gummidge Down Under.
Oh, Triple A for the win. I just watched myself do the thing on the camera. Oh, man, that looks horrible. Anyway.
Dragon Bane. He doesn't even have Tom Hardy's voice. Yeah.
Best Supporting Actress.
I don't really have any backups here, and the only thing I have to add to my choices are they're all very Beatty. I really have no other for any of these.
Same.
I have Nicole Kidman for Boy Erased, Regina King for Beale Street Could Talk, Margot Robbie for Mary Queen of Scots, Amy Ryan for Beautiful Boy, and Emma Stone for The Favorite. That's all I have to say about it.
Okay. Ashley?
In a similar Beatty fashion, I also have Nicole Kidman for Boy Erased and Margot Robbie for Mary Queen of Scots. I have Rachel Weisz for The Favorite because who knows who's going to be the contender for that one, at least until people see it. Claire Foy, First Man, and Meryl Streep for Mary Poppins Return, because of course there has to be a fucking Meryl Streep contender.
Not always.
I always have to put it in there
until
something happens. Because it's like, by default, she has to nearly always be in contention until maybe nominations come.
This could be coming full circle on me, because if you remember, the last time Meryl Streep did a musical with Blunt, all year I was saying, she's not going to get in. It's not that kind of movie. And guess what happened?
Yeah, into James Wood.
Random. Bright Guy says Amy Adams for Backseat, Nicole Kidman for Boy Erased, Regina King for If Beale Street Could Talk, Margot Robbie for Mary Queen of Scots, and Meryl Streep for Mary Poppins Returns. Well, mine's very similar to all of these. I think it's hilarious that one went one way, one went the other way. I'm going the opposite way. We all have someone for the favorite, and it's not the same person.
Ooh, hold on. You aren't, are you?
I have Olivia Colman for the favorite.
Despite the fact that they're sort of advertising her as the lead.
Category fraud happens every year, sir. Amy Adams for Backseat, Nicole Kidman for Boy Erased, Margot Robbie for Mary Queen of Scots, and Regina King if Beale Street Could Talk. I don't really see a reason to bump any of these at this point, unless something changes.
Also, the reason why I put Meryl Streep in is because Jennifer Lawrence can't go in this year. Unless they are really weird and give Red Sparrow an Oscar nomination.
Maybe for a tech award, potentially, but I doubt it.
No, we can just forget Red Sparrow exists. That'd be better.
Mr. Top Hat says Amy Adams for Backseat, Kathy Bates for On the Basis of Sex, Regina King if Beale Street Could Talk, Margot Robbie for Mary Queen of Scots, and Emma Stone for the favorite. Question is, which Popcaster choice for the favorite is going to be the one that actually gets in?
Well, I hate to break it to you, dude, but I don't think it's going to be yours.
You never know.
Yeah, from what I can tell, Coleman is sort of like the lead actress of the three, with Vice and Stone in the more supporting roles.
That's funny because I have it completely the other way around, so I guess we'll see what happens this come September.
Favorites at TIFF, isn't it?
I think so.
So by then we'll find out. 2 weeks, everybody. 2 weeks.
Oh, let's get into AJ's favorite category every single year, Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah, I had a bit of trouble with this one. I still had like 2 more slots when I ran out of ideas.
I went with something weird.
I just kind of had to hope for the best. Yeah, I'll explain everything after I go through them. I have Mahershala Ali for Green Book, Timothée Chalamet for Beautiful Boy, Adam Driver for Black Klansman, Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me, and Tommy Lee Jones for Ad Astra. Tommy Lee Jones may barely be in Ad Astra for all we know. Yeah, but that's what the thing is. He feels sort of like Liam Neeson in Silence, where when I just read like the synopsis, it's like he's either going to have a really baity part or he's going to be in it for like 10 minutes. And since I was running out of ideas, I'm going to go ahead and go with him right now.
Okay.
Everything pretty much happened with Richard E. Grant. I mean, it would be nice to see him nominated at this point because he's been, consistently great in like the smallest parts, even like comedy parts, like The Hitman's Bodyguard for one scene. But like, he's still got one legendary credit to his name with Nail and I that he's had forever that everybody knows him from. And he's actually a name I've seen thrown around a few times in this category for this movie. So it's like, yeah, I'll go with him. It's basically also my way of rooting for him, just in general. So there's that.
That's fair.
Mahershala Ali, there might be some category confusion. I don't know. I don't know how many people know what Green Book is. It's him and Viggo Mortensen. And the description I keep hearing is it's basically like Driving Miss Daisy with the roles reversed. But the reason people are sort of saying, oh, maybe not, is because the director is Peter Farrelly, as in the Farrelly brothers. But
yeah, it's like, wait, so this guy that does drawn-out comedy is actually doing like a factual drama?
But the reason that I'm not dismissing it because it's him is because, and the fact that it's the only thing I have the movie for, is it's sort of reminding me of, remember how I went all in for Robert Duvall and The Judge and ended up paying off? Yeah. Do you have to remember that The Judge was directed by David Dawkins, who did Wedding Crashers and Fred Claus? So I feel like even if it's, one of the Farrelly brothers directing it, Mahershala Ali in a role like this just seems a little too hard.
Okay.
To some extent, on paper, you'd probably said the same with Adam McKay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With his back catalogue, and then The Big Short actually sort of getting a lot of good attention and all that. So,
true. No, it made Adam McKay an Oscar winner, which
true.
I forget sometimes. And there is some confusion like between him and Viggo Mortensen, who's leading, who's supporting, are they both leading? That seems to be vague right now. I don't know. Obviously, it may be my bias, but I'm really pulling for Adam Driver. Because not only is it just like Adam Driver, one of those actors where we've just been waiting for him to come. We're just waiting for that particular part in that particular movie, and the fact that Black Lantern is supposedly going to do well, at least as of right now, and the fact that he pretty much takes over like the entire second half, like the middle half of the movie is pretty much all his. It makes him seem like a good bet. And Timothy Chalamet, of course, the year after he really, really broke out, takes on the drug addiction role. That's yeah, I don't think you get more solidified than that.
Fair. Bry Guy says Timothy Chalamet for Beautiful Boy, Stephen James for Beale Street Could Talk, Lin-Manuel Miranda for Mary Poppins Returns, Sylvester Stallone for Creed 2, and Aaron Johnson for Outlaw King. Interesting. Mr. Top Hat says Timothy Chalamet for Beautiful Boy, Sam Elliott for A Star Is Born, Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me, Armie Hammer for On the Basis of Sex, and Michael B. Jordan for Black Panther. Ashley, what are you saying?
Take everybody else's and mix it up, and you sort of got it.
Same here.
Although, admittedly, I'm clearly having to fill gaps in mine because I've got Russell Crowe and Joel Edgerton as it stands for Boy Erased. Because I don't know which is the one that's going to be championed as the best yet, because we still got to wait for the reception from the festivals. But the other three are Oscar Isaac for At Eternity's Gate, Michael B. Jordan for Black Panther, and Sam Elliott for being the dude, or the bloke that says the dude all the time. And you tell it's the 20th anniversary next month of Big Lebowski. Has Elliot ever had a nomination?
No, not for. I don't think so. I know he hasn't for acting.
I think we better stick one in there.
He tried last year with that movie, The Hero, but that was just embarrassing.
Yeah, but
I thought it was embarrassing.
With the support of Bradley Cooper and everybody else behind Star Is Born. And of course, that's going to have an interesting release date, given that it is opening October. I guess it's going to try and keep the momentum going throughout the season and whatever. So, yeah.
I think it and First Man are like really close together, I think. I think they're like 1 week right after the other or something.
Not sure off the top of my head.
In regards to the Edgerton Crow thing, just from what I've read, like what the synopsis is, it sounds like Crow would probably have the much more emotional part. That's just a guess.
All right. Mr. Top Hat says A Star Is Born seems like country La La Land.
I can't tell if that's good or bad.
I'm partly just putting it in because Lady Gaga was robbed by Sam fucking Smith.
Here we go again. Never fails.
You're going to inadvertently become the biggest Lady Gaga fanboy in this category.
Well, no, because if there's a better performance than Lady Gaga's performance, I'm not going to be all over it and whatever and saying she has to win. It's just like, no, if she gets the recognition and there's something better,
well,
even if it means fuck you, Sam Smith, though.
Yeah, but in the case of something that Lady Gaga lost to something that was better in 2019, let's say. She lost to something that was worse in 2016. I'd have less of a problem with it.
All right. Well, before we go any further, I get to give my predictions. Before we get into that category, I get to do my best supporting actor lineup. Most of these have been mentioned. One of them hasn't. I would say right now, if I could have put anybody in here that I didn't, I would go with Sam Elliott for A Star Is Born. But what I did go with, Timothée Chalamet for Beautiful Boy, Sam Rockwell for Backseat, Adam Driver for Black Klansman, Stephen James for If Beale Street Could Talk, and the one that no one's talking about, that AJ brought up a little bit ago, Daniel Kaluuya for Widows.
That's interesting because everything I've seen from that trailer, it feels like he'd be best supporting actor.
Mr. Top Hat said very true about Sam Smith.
About what?
Probably the things you've said about him in Popcast for the last couple years.
I have no problem with his music. It's just he did a relatively shit Bond theme that somehow got credit.
Well, you're not wrong, but still.
In all honesty.
They
didn't try and give a nomination to Alicia Keys and Jack White, did they?
Let's move on to Best Actress now, shall we?
Right, so we're on actress now, right?
Yeah.
What you just said.
I wasn't paying attention to you for a second.
I should have talked about Words of Coming Down Under. People would have paid attention then.
Mr. Top Hat's answer before we get to AJ's. We have actually Braga and Mr. Top Hat both. Viola Davis for Widows, Felicity Jones for On the Basis of Sex, Melissa McCarthy for Can You Ever Forgive Me, Saoirse Ronan for Mary Queen of Scots, and Lady Gaga for Star Is Born. Bry Guy says Emily Blunt for Mary Poppins Returns, Viola Davis for Widows. Obviously, Bry Guy is using the shoot name of Lady Gaga. Stephanie Germanotta for A Star Is Born, Saoirse Ronan for Mary Queen of Scots, and the pick from TIFF is Mandila Stenberg? Amanadla Stenberg for The Hate You Give. Josh Rickett says Glenn Close is going to play the Gary Oldman card with the wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I can't play a sounder that goes, everyone!
Now, AJ, it's your turn.
I have Amy Adams for Backseat, Olivia Colman for The Favorite, Lady Gaga for Star Is Born, Melissa McCarthy for Can You Ever Forgive Me, and Saoirse Ronan for Mary Queen of Scots. Obviously, there's category confusion with Amy Adams. I've seen her listed in both categories. I went ahead and went leading. The three of them kind of speak for themselves. I do think it's going to be like this running joke throughout the whole season. I feel like where it's like The Favorite and Mary Queen of Scots are just going to go hand in hand in like every category almost. And both of them just make sense. Everybody's been talking up Saoirse Ronan since remember early last season. I was like totally convinced that she was winning hands down, and now that she was like, it sort of feels like she didn't even come close after a while. This is her chance to sort of try again, I guess.
Right.
Lady Gaga seems like the obvious choice. McCarthy is something I wasn't exactly like really passionate about putting in here, but the thing about it is when you look at the others, like obviously Glenn Close is like at the top of a lot of lists. I guess it's apart from the fact that people are saying, I know that seems like it should be enough. People are saying she's at the top of lists and all that. Like the only thing I've ever heard about the wife is she did one talk show that I saw promoting it, and Christian Slater did one talk show promoting it. And I haven't really heard anything since until I heard people saying everybody's predicting her. So, and it seems a little left field to me, but apparently it's like seemingly this done deal to a lot of other people. So I don't really know what to do about that. I could just be totally behind on this, and it'll become like blatantly obvious she's a front runner later, but in the meantime, it's just like basically it's news to me. Obviously, if I were to go with my heart, I absolutely positively want to say blonde, and there definitely is reason behind it because Julie Andrews won for this. And obviously she's very much behind on nominations. Obviously she should have been in for like My Summer of Love and The Young Victoria and Sicario and The Girl on the Train and every fucking thing she's ever done, basically. But I don't know if it's the I don't want to jinx it thing or if the I'm just not feeling it thing. But yeah, I basically gravitated to these 5 before I went there. And obviously, when it first came out, people were really throwing Toni Collette out, saying she could be like the Daniel Kaluuya this year, the one that gets in for like the really out there movie. But the trouble is when you look at the full results, you realize that Daniel Kaluuya didn't exactly get in for a random movie. He got in for a Best Picture nominee that won in screenplay. And Hereditary is sort of like, I mean, yeah, people have been nominated for some weird shit before, but Collette in Hereditary just seems really, really out there. I've seen some people throw her in supporting also, which is totally off. But I have seen people say that for some reason, but I just really don't see it. And the last person I kind of looked at was Carey Mulligan for Wildlife, the movie. I think is it Paul Dano's directorial debut. But it's
like the movie that was made for me, basically.
Yeah. And that part seemed kind of baity also, but I think I ended up bumping her out for McCarthy. So, yeah.
You get the old man face for that. Right guy says, is this Amy Adams' year or Ronan or Emily Blunt because it's a spirit for Julie Andrews winning for the original? It's possible. I mean, Mr. Top Hat says, when I saw the trailer for Can You Ever Forgive Me, I had no idea it was McCarthy till her name came up. Ashley, what do you got?
I have Lady Gaga for A Star Is Born, Olivia Colman for The Favourite, Glenn Close for The Wife, Saoirse Ronan for Mary Queen of Scots, and Emma Thompson for The Children Act. Because there's always one film every year where it's like, well, the acting's good, but the film's average. That is pretty much Emma Thompson and The Children Act from what I've seen from the reviews. It's getting like award-nominated possible performance in a distinctly average film. I still need to see it. I should be catching it this weekend because it just opened here on Friday. So my aim was to try and see it on Monday if I can fit it in around other stuff and everything. But yeah, the Glenn Close stuff, I think the reason why it's even just there is just because of the subject matter of the film. Being very sort of like, Me Too and Weinstein sort of stuff. So that's I think going to be championed from the offset. Technically, I hope Olivia Colman wins. Yes, I put that ahead of Lady Gaga. Deal with it.
All right. Category fraud is coming your way apparently. Because for Best Actress, I have Glenn Close for The Wife, Viola Davis for Widows, Lady Gaga for A Star Is Born, Saoirse Ronan for Mary Queen of Scots, and Emma Stone for The Favourite. Still don't know what's going to happen with The Favourite. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I'm literally going to try and look up The Favourite plot synopsis, or not plot synopsis, but the actual the synopsis of what's going on.
My confidence level in most of this lineup is not great, but I think I'm pretty set on 3, and the other 2 could go either way. But I think there's more to meets the eye with Viola Davis, especially if Widows is as much of a juggernaut as it looks like it might be. But if it falls off, then maybe not. But then what Ashley said about a movie that didn't really get much of anything else is getting acting nominations still. That's another situation that could possibly happen. So, I mean, it's anyone's guess at this point. But it's August, don't forget that.
The close relationship between Queen Anne Coleman and Sarah Churchill Weiss is threatened by the arrival of Sarah's cousin, Abigail Masham Stone, resulting in a bit of rivalry to be the Queen's favourite. So on that, it's a toss-up between Churchill, between Vice and Stone for lead, actually. Maybe.
That may be the reason why I went that direction, subconsciously.
Apparently its premiere is actually Thursday? Yeah. Thursday at Venice. So it hasn't even come out yet.
Okay. So now we move on to Best Actor.
Yes, I'm paying attention this time. I have Steve Carell for Beautiful Boy, Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born, Lucas Hedges for Boy Erased, Joaquin Phoenix for Don't Worry You Won't Get Far on Foot, and Robert Redford for The Old Man and the Gun. This category's packed. I have like 10 possibilities listed here. I really wanted to go with Willem Dafoe for At Eternity's Gate. He was like one of the first people I listed, and then he just casually got bumped out. I actually had John David Washington in before I saw Black Klansman. It was actually after seeing the movie I decided to take him out, but the way that not that he doesn't stand out, but I just think it really does end up becoming more Adam Driver's movie after a while, and he just kind of gets overshadowed, I think. A couple of obvious ones that are missing, Gosling and Bale. I don't know why I'm not feeling them. I think that's still... I'm still not quite sure how to take Backseat right now, apart outside of this and original screenplay. It just really remains to be seen, I guess. In Gosling, once again, I don't even know. It's just a feeling, I guess. You've got like the smaller choices like Ethan Hawke for First Reformed, who had buzz for a long time when the movie was popular. And then, like I said, there's if we're gonna go with should Green Book do something, then Viggo Mortensen. Once again, not quite sure where he and Ollie stand in regards to leading and supporting. And then lastly, obviously Rami Malek, but for the obvious reason, I immediately decided he was probably a no-go. So I know, I don't know why I'm so sold on the Phoenix thing right now. I really don't know what it is about that movie that's making me keep going in that direction, but yeah, it's probably be smarter, but like Gosling or Bale in his place. But there's Jackman for the front runner too. But as I said before, I'm not really feeling the front runner at least yet. So unless something changes, that's the 5 I'm looking at.
Okay.
Well, the whole Redford retiring thing, obviously.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Because you look at that and it was like, when you heard about The Old Man and the Gun, and it's like David Lowery's new movie and stuff like that, and you think, oh yeah, but you think about All Is Lost, and you're like, well, if that didn't get him in, is this really going to? I don't know. But then it's like, maybe there's a possibility. And then he drops the retirement news. And Redford isn't the kind of guy, obviously when actors announce their retirement, most people meet it with, yeah, I doubt it. But I think Redford is this far in his career, and his projects have been far enough apart, and this role seems satisfying enough to where, and the age that he's at right now, it's pretty believable he probably means it.
Mm-hmm. So, part of me feel he isn't going to try and do a Spike Lee or a Steven Soderbergh here and go, this is my last film.
Not to mention, I believe The Thing is his only nomination so far, and acting. So, yeah.
So Mr. Top Hat's lineup is Bale for Backseat, Carell for Beautiful Boy, Cooper for Star Is Born, Gosling for First Man, and Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody. Bry Guy says Bale for Backseat, Carell for Welcome to Marwen, Willem Dafoe for At Eternity's Gate, Ryan Gosling for First Man, and Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody. He says it's such a variety this year, it can go any way, and I won't be disappointed. And Bry Guy just broke news in our chat. John McCain just died.
Oh. There you go. Breaking news.
God, yesterday he stopped treatment.
Follow up.
What'd you say, AJ?
He just announced yesterday he was stopping treatment. That was fast.
Yeah.
Oh, and are there any names that haven't been mentioned yet that are in yours or not?
Yes, one big one, but no. Other than that, no.
Okay, because mine also has one, but I think this is one that probably wouldn't get put in. Probably will fall out of mine. So I've got Carell for Beautiful Boy, Defoe for Eternity's Gate, Gosling for First Man, Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, and Joaquin Phoenix for You Were Never Really Here. Because that's fucking stuck with me. You know, this sort of ex-army hitman assassin, if you will, that's going through all his own issues and whatever. It's a very powerful. I mean, the ending, just like, geez, it's a Lynn Ramsey film. You know, it's from considering it's from the director of We Need to Talk About Kevin. Yeah, it's just a very powerful performance. You feel connected for him throughout the like 90 or so minutes that you get in the film, and I want to give some recognition to it there, and the fact that, you know, I think it's probably more unlikely now, but the fact that there was buzzed also around Don't Worry You Won't Get Far on Foot, it's like very rare that you can have like two standout performances in the same year, I would say.
Not to mention, they just seem to flat out love him. Remember when he got nominated? He ended up getting nominated for the Master after like he made all those headlines telling the Academy to go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember whether that was at the same time he was doing that whole thing with Casey Affleck.
It would have been 2 years after that came out.
Okay, so when he became, it was all the two.
I actually keep forgetting. I always keep thinking he was nominated for her, but he wasn't. But that was a really packed year for an actor too. That was the same year Hanks got stuff for Captain Phillips, so I think that.
So, I mean, with what AJ's saying, it's got me like questioning my choice. I'm not going to change it, but you've got me basically thinking at this point, AJ, that obviously not with the situation, because it's not on him, it's on the movie that surrounds him. But you've got me believing that Rami Malek this year is James Franco, in essence. That's got me worried a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but the problem there, of course, is Franco was actually the one that was the alleged perpetrator, sort of thing.
And that's what I just said too. So I mean, that's the reason why.
To some extent, I guess the nearest comparison would be the Oscar win last year for Baby Driver. Despite all the spacey stuff, they were willing to put that aside to actually acknowledge the editing and whatever.
Well,
depending how good the performance is, I can certainly see them giving Malek a nomination.
Well, since obviously he's the first one on my lineup, we got Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, Christian Bale for Backseat. Don't worry, AJ, I'll go for it so you don't have to. Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born, Ryan Gosling for First Man, and Lucas Hedges for Boy Erased. I don't see any reason to change my lineup anytime soon. I'm okay with my lineup. I don't know if it's going to stick, but I'm good with it now. But now we move into Best Director.
All right. Not like a shitload of confidence in a lot of these, but
right.
We'll see what happens. It's one of those cases where I don't know who else I would go with if not these five right now. So
okay.
I have Damien Chazelle for First Man, Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born, Alfonso Cuarón for Roma, James Gray for Ad Astra, and Spike Lee for Black Klansman. I hear actually that apparently First Man is because it's already had like screenings. Apparently, it's not at all flashy in the way that all Whiplash are. So, but I don't know if I feel like just that movie and his name are almost just enough that people will just check that box when they see it now. Bradley Cooper, I already said, Academy loves him. He like I said, 4 nominations in 3 consecutive years. One of those is a producer credit. Would not surprise me at all if he got a Best Director nomination this soon in his directing career. Honestly, I don't have a lot of faith in Roma, but I'm just kind of going on the faith of the hype. And like I said, with him already being an established, winning director, it's not impossible. And if anybody's going to make this happen, it's probably for a movie like that. James Gray, like I said, I'm just kind of latching onto this before comparing that after Arrival. I don't know. Because I was comparing The Shape of Water to Arrival last year, which clearly surpassed what Arrival ended up knowing. So yeah, and Spike Lee seems like a pretty safe bet, especially since, despite his reputation, hasn't been nominated, and the fact that he made a huge deal out of it when he wasn't nominated in direction. This could finally be almost 30 years later that I'm paying that back. So, and it obviously would be a good deal for, yeah.
Okay. Right Guy says, I saw The Disaster Artist and I wasn't a fan of it. Same thing with Lady Bird, wasn't a fan. But be fair to you, Owen, I did like I, Tonya, unlike AJ and Ashley. Well, to be fair, I'm a big mark for The Room, so I was always going to love The Disaster Artist. I really dug Lady Bird, but my extreme bias to Greta, of course, but I still love the movie. And I loved I, Tonya because I basically lived the Tonya Harding situation. Because I was like really enthralled in, as I just told you guys last award season. Mr. Top Hat's lineup for director is backseat first man if Beale Street Could Talk on the Basis of Sex and Mary Queen of Scots. And Bry Guy says Spike Lee, Damien Chazelle, Barry Jenkins, Bradley Cooper, and Robert Zemeckis. They're welcome to Marwan. And Mr. Top Hat greets you. He says, "Oh, hi, Ashley."
Hi, Mark. Mark should have said it like that. Damn it.
Yeah, it's rare these days for someone to get both actor and director. Not unheard of, but rare. This is very true.
It seems like every year
Bradley Cooper.
Every year we say something that's rare and ends up happening.
Yep. Ashley, what do you got?
I have Bradley Cooper for Star is Born, Joe Edgerton for Boy Erased, Barry Jenkins for If Beale Street Could Talk, Steve McQueen for Widows, and because I'm guessing this is now going to be a thing in which we have to have a woman nominated every year, Josie Rourke for Mary Queen of Scots.
Okay.
Barry Jenkins is just in there because there's a lot of buzz behind it. Because, when I actually get to see more of these, I'll feel more confident in actually putting them in or actually hearing buzz about them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the early buzz. It's like, that's why it probably is as it stands. Although I'd say, I wouldn't say Cooper's the most a lock in out of those 5 than the rest of them. I would say, if there's enough momentum behind it, which I'm pretty sure that they're going to try and do, it will stick around. I think they're trying to get the fan momentum behind it, very similar to how, despite the critical, not great reception for it, how well Greatest Showman's done in terms of like album sales and God knows how many different sing-along versions that have cropped up over the past few months just randomly at cinemas because it's like backed by popular demand. So I think that's what Star is Born is going to try and do. The songs are going to be that powerful enough that they'll keep playing on US radio till way on into Christmas and on into when we actually get to award season. So they got the fireworks.
Yep, fire in the background. All right. We have any more comments in chat here? Mr. Top Hat says, I honestly feel Infinity War should have a director nomination just for how complex the movie is. Bry Guy says, I'm saying Zemeckis joins in the ranks with Eastwood, Scott, and Gibson for the director that gets the comeback nomination either for directing or picture. Greatest Showman is going to Broadway.
Doesn't surprise me. Although next time, can we get Rebecca Ferguson to actually sing it?
I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm okay if this happens. I'm very happy Moulin Rouge is finally on Broadway. Maybe in about 10 years it'll come to Orlando. Fingers crossed. My director lineup is Damien Chazelle for First Man, Spike Lee for Black Klansman, Barry Jenkins for If Beale Street Could Talk, Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born, and Steve McQueen for Widows. I'm okay with these 5.
You went all in on Wiz, man.
I know, man. I don't know why. I just did. I'll tell you what. I mean, it's all ends next weekend, but apparently it's going to start a week early, so.
But weren't you guys saying Get Out about this time last year and I was scoffing at you?
Yes, we were.
All right.
I totally said Get Out in August last year. Well, technically it was September, but yeah. Speaking of something that's confusing, Best Picture.
Once again, going with the whole 9 thing, I kind of felt like I had to stretch. So
I've got filler here, actually, or what I think is filler.
I have Astra, Backseat, Beautiful Boy, Black Klansman, Crazy Rich Asians, First Man, American and Scott, Roma, and A Star Is Born. Crazy Rich Asians is probably the most expendable because, as we talked about in the last video, if they really want to, there's a movie that's going to be a very likely candidate in the popular film category. They could just throw it in there and forget about it. So there's that. Roma kind of feels like potentially Quaron could do what Bennett Miller did with Foxcatcher, and Roma could miss you. But since I had Quaron in director, I wasn't about to do something that ballsy in August. I put Roma in picture. And the other, I went ahead with Mary Queen of Scots over The Favorite. I guess this will be the one category where they split up, I guess. I guess the others kind of speak for themselves, I think. So yeah, Backseat obviously is one I'm not totally confident in, but because I only have it with 1 acting nomination and screenplay. But once again, if the category is this expanded, then it totally could pull it off, even if it's like it feels like slightly under The Big Short in quality. If he gets even close to The Big Short, they're going to be all over it. So, yeah.
Right Guy says, Backseat, Beautiful Boy, First Man, If Beale Street Could Talk, Mary Poppins Returns, Mary Queen of Scots, A Star Is Born, Welcome to Marwen, and right now I'm saying Black Panther. Not because of the popular film controversy, it's because I couldn't fit another film justified for picture. Top Hat says, Backseat, Black Panther, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favorite, First Man, If Beale Street Could Talk, Mary Queen of Scots, On the Basis of Sex, and Widows. Although with Best Popular Film, Black Panther is likely out. See, that's the thing. We don't know if, because it's nominated for the Buzz category, if that means it's going to be out of the Best Picture running or not. I don't know if there's any rules we don't know about that state that it can't run for both.
I think it's already been said that won't be the case. It can get in both.
Okay.
The same way foreign and animated work.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, Ashley?
My 9. I'm going to split them up into 2. So I've got First Man, The Favorite, and Widows, and then sponsored by Sesame Street, not actually sponsored, but brought to you by the letter B. If Beale Street Could Talk, A Star Is Born, Beautiful Boy, Boy Erased, Black Klansman, and Black Panther.
There's a ton of bees this year.
Black Panther is only in there at the minute because it's strong enough to be in there, but if they do this like best popular film category, I fear it's going to miss out and just get shoved in there instead. So I want to champion it for at least 1 month.
You're not the only one that's saying it.
Being in contention, you know, if Dunkirk and Inception and okay, they're Nolan films and whatever, but if they're mainstream films that got over with both fans and the critics, that's the best place to put it in picture. And it does, even now to this day, even that when I watch it, it just feels still like a cultural sort of event. And if you're going to acknowledge a film with, the amount of black cast and crew that has, it put that in over any of the other films that may have black directors or black lead actors or a predominantly black cast, or, because I don't know how much black crew there would have been on sort of Moonlight or Black Klansman to that degree.
So Mr. Top Hat says it definitely can run for both. I know it won't make it, not in both. Bry Guy brings up a good point. If Black Panther could do well, might it get in at PGA and kind of be just like Logan did with Adapted last year?
I can see PGA happening, but it would be more like Abrams' Star Trek or Skyfall. With, like, the obvious temp spot there.
Yeah.
We don't know how long. We don't know how many picture categories it's going to be, so I guess that's kind of hard to say.
My thing is, on the Globes front, do they dare try and put it in for comedy musical? Well, if we're going on like the history of like Get Out and The Martian, who knows?
It would make sense though, because Get Out, while it may not be like a hilarious movie, they may have used the satire portion to put it under comedy.
Mm-hmm.
So I know everybody goes to that, but come on, The Martian is hilarious.
It is.
Like, consistently. So, that's, yeah.
Mr. Top Hat thinks that Black Panther might get ensemble at SAG.
And stunt ensemble, although that probably more likely be Infinity War.
And of course, Mr. Top Hat has to make the comment, "Oh no, not the bees, not the bees." Nick Cage movies coming back to AJ's movie reviews in the very near future. So, I guess we get to end this shindig right now because I get to deliver my best picture lineup that I'm not comfortable with whatsoever. My best picture lineup is Backseat, Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, First Man, If Beale Street Could Talk, Mary Queen of Scots, Peterloo, Roma, A Star Is Born, and yes, AJ, Widows.
I could really be underestimating If Beale Street Could Talk, but
possibly.
And Widows. For some reason, I guess wasn't feeling them, but I guess only time will tell. This could probably look like totally, completely different in a month. So
possibly. I mean, I could have a black eye in a month. Who knows? You never know what might happen out in the streets. The thing is, you'll notice something from the predictions without me. I could have completely spoiled it right away. You'll notice that I did not have Black Panther getting in for anything. Has nothing to do with the fact that still to this day, I never had the opportunity to see the movie. It's the fact that I don't see it. Tech awards? Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, there's a lot, cinematography, costume, score. I think there's a lot there that it's, I've got it in high contention for already. So,
and another movie that we may not be completely okay with, like, and going any further than it already has. What is the potential that we get 8th Grade in Best Picture potentially?
It feels like the talk about it has kind of fallen off since it's been leaving theaters. It would have to have probably a really big resurgence around the time I'm not sure when it's. I don't know where I was taking that.
It still doesn't have a release date over here, so I have no clue.
I mean, Bohemian Rhapsody could be Bohemian Rhapsody for me could be the disaster artist this year potentially. The movie I really want to see do well with a actor performance that I think deserves to get in, and it just doesn't. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. That's the beauty part. It's August, so no one knows anything. We're all just literally just doing the whole thing with throwing the ropes again, trying to figure out what exactly we think might get in August. Oscars are a long way away.
In regards to me not having Black Panther anywhere in this top 8, what it appears to be, looking it over and hearing everything, it kind of sounds like pretty much everything that's being said by others about Black Panther, I basically have Crazy Rich Asians in all of those places. And I don't know if that
might be a mistake too, in my perspective, of not running Crazy Rich Asians for anything.
Because something else I kind of forgot to mention when I put it in screenplay is one thing you can also easily compare it to, I think, is My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
That's the first thing that came to my mind when I first heard about the movie.
You remember Neil Rydell did get nominated in screenplay for that. But also, and it's also got the diversity factor on hand like Black Panther does. It's got the two of them are going to be fighting to the... I know people said that the popular film category was made for Black Panther. It was made for Black Panther to run away with it. I think they're going to be fighting to the death for it, quite honestly.
Possible.
And obviously, Crazy Rich Asians has the upper hand in being newer and fresher in people's minds. You might say they put the term recency bias with people who vote. You could also put recency bias with people who are predicting nominations. But the thing is even though I did see Crazy Rich Asians this week, I had these written down before I saw it. So that's not based on that at all. And in regards to one acting nomination, some people are bringing up the possibility of Michael B. Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I hear Michael B. Jordan, I also hear Michelle Yeoh thrown out as supporting actress. So, which is totally possible too. I forgot to mention her, but yeah, she could also be a possibility if the movie stays that big. Obviously, that's a big if. The movie can maintain what it has right now, but it could totally fall off too. So,
well, again, but going by that, AJ, you have to look at the fact that Black Panther just came out on DVD too, so it's got still fresh in people's minds as well, and they're going to get those rewatches in this way too.
Black Panther's been on DVD for a while, dude. It's been at least a few months.
It feels like it's not, because it just seems like it just left theaters.
Dude, it came out in February.
Oh, dear God.
So did Get Out. Yeah.
Mr. Top Hat says, I think I prefer Edge of 17 to 8th Grade. I haven't seen 8th Grade, but I loved Edge of 17.
Yeah, I was wondering I haven't seen 8th Grade yet, but I was wondering how similar they would be.
I really dug Edge of 17. I remember watching, that was a very interesting theatrical experience watching that movie.
I'm just looking. I didn't even realize that the lead in Crazy Rich Asians was actually English and also the host of a travel show over here for the past 4 years.
Right,
which
guys.
I think might give him contention for best newcomer. Because if the fact that he's in Crazy Rich Asians and he's also, what is it, the Paul Feig film?
A Simple Favor.
Yeah, the fact he's in that as well, which looks very promising. That might be in with a shout of the rising star. I'm calling these now, everybody. Make a note. August 25th.
That would actually make a lot of sense.
So, Bry Guy says, speaking of the Bohemian Rhapsody controversy with Me Too, don't bid on Toy Story 4 for adapted because of John Lasseter being involved with the script. I think Disney trumps pretty much anything. If they're going to want to run Toy Story, they're going to run it.
That's if he's going to still be attached to the script.
It may not be by then. Top Hat says, Avengers, Black Panther, Incredibles 2, Jurassic World, and The Meg for Best Popular Film right now.
Because come to think of it, from what I can tell, the screenplay writers get credited for the main bulk of the screenplays rather than the story, because obviously technically the story can be the other 3 films, so that's why you could put Lasseter in it.
So,
well, it could be an industry thing, because obviously people in the industry will know. But I feel like just in general, Lasseter's really wasn't near as public as a lot of others were.
Very true.
He's much more, since he's more of a lot of people in the industry may not even know what his face looks like because he's known for animated movies. I don't know if they would have the same impact as like a Bryan Singer would or not. Obviously, Bryan Singer is also behind the scenes, but Bryan Singer is also incredibly well known.
True.
In more of a traditional sense, I guess. So.
Well, I think on that note, we're about an hour and 40 minutes in right now. Cassie says, yeah, I can see Avengers getting nominated for facts. And I definitely see Disney running away with another Best Animated Picture. We'll see. Incredibles 2 is pretty amazing, so it's a good possibility.
I don't know.
Don't doubt Wreck-It Ralph 2, though.
I love dogs.
I'd love to see that happen, too, but I think we're the only ones that really like that movie, Ashley, at this rate.
Remember, sometimes there can be rubbish films in. I mean, look at The Boss Baby, but the key thing that I Love Dogs has is it's all hand done.
That's true.
Why else does Leica get in nearly every time?
Because they're solid movies, that's why.
Well, but then also because of the different art of doing it. If you're gonna say to me one sort of hand sort of claymation style film is getting in, I would easily put I Love Dogs over Early Man.
I would too, easily. I've got I Love Dogs in my lineup right now, but we're not getting anywhere near that right at this point. Bry Guy says Boss Baby is somewhat underrated for me. Mr. Top Hat said he's listened to predictions all last year, but this is the first time seeing them live. Thanks for having me, fellas. Oh, no worries. Thank you for joining us tonight. At the literal.
I realized as well, I did actually see a trailer for what is it, a Netflix series? The Boss Baby stuff.
No idea what you're talking about.
I saw a trailer for something that's to do with the Boss Baby and Netflix, and I was like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, it's some kind of spin-off thing or something.
Because part of the way that it was presented, it sort of looked like they were trying to remake the film at the same time. It was like...
Is this like when they did that animated remake of Elf? It's like half an hour long. Does anybody remember that?
Vaguely, yeah.
The Boss Baby back in business.
I think that's the end of. We're done. We're gonna talk about Boss Baby. I'm taking it home right now. I'm tapping the non-existent watch right now.
It opened in April. Why are you advertising it now? It's been 4 months.
That's a good way to end the show. So, Mr. Top Hat says all recent DreamWorks movies have a Netflix series. That's a fair point. Boss Baby sequel in 2021.
Well, let us not say, or let us not go without saying. I can say this with a straight face too. The Boss Baby was pretty great in Black Klansman, so you at least have to give the Boss Baby that.
And I'll get that reference when I see the movie.
It's pretty obvious if you think about it.
That's your show.
Part of me did feel that I walked into an opening of Saturday Night Live.
I know what. Okay, the TV show series on the Boss Baby is what Cassie's talking about. So yeah, that's a thing. So once again, this is our first of monthly podcast here on the Popcast Network, discussing our Academy Awards predictions of the 2019 Oscar show, which is coming up next year. Bye-bye, Mr. Top Hat. I want to thank everyone live or in archive for joining us this evening or this morning or whenever you're watching this broadcast. Technically speaking, it will be up about midnight on the 26th. So if you didn't get a chance to check it out, the archive will be up momentarily. And by momentarily, I mean in like 2 hours. So from this moment. So Ashley, where can we find you on social media?
I'm on Twitter at Ashley is my name UK.
More Snack Stash is coming. Ashley and myself will be doing wrestling coverage, of course. Next week, we're literally going all in for a live podcast about All In. So that's going to be fun. Looking forward to that. We're going to do Raw, I guess, on Monday. At least we got the other stuff, the other important stuff that build up to All In, Ring of Honor, New Japan, Impact, everything under the sun that's going to be coming your way. And AJ's new Versus is actually going to be coming up on Monday, too, so get ready for that. That's going to be a fun one. And if you've been listening to things that have been predicted tonight, you may have an idea, some minor idea about what the Versus is going to be about this week. So should be a fun time. So that's going to be an interesting one. Well, thanks, everyone, for joining us, whether live or in archive. And if you haven't yet, go out, check out a film, and tell us what you think about it. And tell us, again, in the comments below, if you'd like to, what your predictions are for the 2019 Academy Awards moving forward. So once again, if you like these videos or these podcasts, tell your friends about them. Leave a comment, do subscribe. Help spread the word about Popcast Network. If you haven't yet, just take a moment, click like on our Facebook fan page. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you're more than welcome to. It's at Siro and Disney. And you can follow the network itself. We have a Twitter feed. It's at Popcast Network. And I want to thank Ashley and AJ once again for joining us this evening. And Ashley knows where I'm going with this. I almost went into the wrestling outro. But in this case, I'm going to say thanks, everyone, for watching and tuning in. We'll see you again next month. And the next time you see me, I'll be Kevin Smith years old. Yes, 37 in a row. So in the meantime, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.
There's a scene in which a man is hung up by a large hook for his chest, which also features bloody injury detail.